my wife texted from Miami. I want an open marriage. This isn't negotiable. So I just replied understood. 1 hour later, her entire reality was destroyed. I, 32M, have been married to my wife, Luna, 30F, for 5 years. Up until 3 days ago, I genuinely thought we had the perfect marriage. I work from home as a senior software architect for a major tech firm, which brings in a very comfortable, multi-six-figure income. Because of this, Luna has never had to worry about bills. She works a part-time passion project, basically making custom jewelry, which brings in maybe a few $100s a month, but it makes her happy, so I've always been glad to completely bankroll our suburban lifestyle. I bought our house. I pay the cars, the vacations, the fine dining, everything. I never held it over her head because I thought we were a team. Well, last week, Luna went to Miami for a 6-day girls' trip with her 2 single best friends, Chloe and Sarah. It was supposed to be a mix of a bachelorette party for an old college friend and a mini reunion. Because I trusted her implicitly, and because I wanted her to have the absolute best time, I financed the entire thing. I booked them a massive, high-end luxury suite overlooking the beach on my corporate card, and I paid for their first-class flights. I even gave Luna a joint credit card with a massive limit for dinners and drinks. For the first 2 days, everything seemed completely normal. She sent me standard pictures of the beach, food, and her outfits. But on night 3, everything shattered. It was exactly 11:30 p.m. I was sitting on the couch playing video games when my phone buzzed. It was a massive, completely cold, and detached wall of text from Luna. I'll paraphrase, but the core of it is burned into my brain. She wrote, "Hey, being out here in Miami with the girls has really opened my eyes. I've realized that I married way too young, and I completely missed out on my prime years. I love the life we have, but I need more excitement. I've decided I want an open marriage so I can explore my options and live life without regrets. This isn't a discussion, it's a statement. It's not negotiable. If you truly love me and value our future, you'll adapt to this." I sat there staring at my screen. My heart didn't even race. Instead, a bizarre, freezing cold clarity washed over me. The sheer disrespect, the arrogance, the absolute audacity to send an extortion-style ultimatum over text while on a vacation I paid for was mind-boggling. She thought she had all the power. She thought I was so desperate to keep her that I would just roll over and accept being a cuckold provider. In that exact moment, I realized my marriage was dead, and I felt zero desire to fight for it. Instead of panicking, begging, or blowing up her phone with angry paragraphs, I took a slow, deep breath. I typed out a single word, hit send, and locked my phone. Understood. Then, I sat back and looked around our empty living room. A slow realization of absolute power hit me. Luna wanted to experience what it was like to be an independent, single woman exploring her options. Fine. Let's see what that actually looks like. Every single thing Luna was currently enjoying in Miami. The phone plan she used to text me, the credit cards in her designer purse, the luxury hotel room she was sleeping in, and the first-class return flight scheduled for 3 days later, was entirely under my name, tied to my bank accounts, and paid for by my labor. Within 30 minutes, I was on my computer executing a total scorched earth campaign. First, I logged into my airline portal and canceled her return flight. It was a non-refundable premium ticket, gone in a single click. Next, I called the front desk of the luxury Miami hotel. I gave them my reservation details, explained that my wife was staying there, but that I was removing my credit card authorization for the remaining nights effective immediately. The clerk informed me that without a valid card on file, they would have to ask the occupants to settle the bill or vacate. I told him to do what he had to do. After that, I initiated a clean financial separation. Following a piece of advice I remembered from a cousin's divorce, I legally transferred exactly 50% of our joint savings into a brand new, private account at a completely different bank to protect my assets. Then, I opened my banking app and froze the joint credit card she was carrying. Exactly 1 hour after she sent that arrogant text, the trap snapped shut. Because I manage our family cellular plan, I also went ahead and suspended her data roaming and restricted her line. Her card got declined, her phone lost service, and her reality dissolved. Suddenly, my phone started absolutely lighting up. 15 missed calls in a row. A flurry of frantic, unhinged texts started pouring in through Wi-Fi from Luna, Chloe, and Sarah. The last text from Luna completely abandoned her confident, non-negotiable queen persona. It was pure, unadulterated panic. It read, "What did you do? The hotel security is at the door telling us we are being kicked out right now. My cards are all declined. Chloe's card doesn't have enough limit, and we are literally about to be stranded on the street. Answer me right now. What is happening?" I didn't reply. I smiled, flipped my phone on to Do Not Disturb, walked upstairs, and went to sleep like a baby. Update. Wow, this blew up way more than I expected. Thanks for all the advice and validation in the comments of my last post. It's been an absolutely insane 48 hours, and honestly, seeing the community back me up gave me the clarity I needed to hold the line. A lot has unfolded since I went to sleep that night, and let's just say, Luna's entire reality didn't just crack, it completely collapsed. The morning after I pulled the plug, I woke up feeling incredibly refreshed. I got out of bed, made myself a cup of black coffee, sat down at the kitchen counter, and finally took my phone off, Do Not Disturb. The sheer volume of notifications almost crashed my device. I had 43 missed calls, dozens of unread texts, and a long string of frantic voicemails from Luna, her friend Chloe, and surprisingly, my mother-in-law. Listening to those voicemails in chronological order was like listening to the 5 stages of grief played out in real time. The tone shift was staggering. The first few voicemails, time-stamped around 1 a.m., were pure, venomous rage from Luna. She was screaming that I was being pathetic, childish, and insecure. She yelled that she was an independent woman and that I had no right to dictate her life or control her. But by 3 a.m., the arrogance completely vanished. The next voicemail was Luna crying hysterically on a noisy Miami sidewalk. The background noise of traffic and club music was loud, and she was begging me to answer. She sobbed that they had been formally kicked out of a luxury suite, that Chloe's personal credit card was completely maxed out trying to cover a temporary room, and that they had nowhere to go. Then came the 6 a.m. voicemail. This one wasn't from Luna, it was from her mother. She was absolutely screeching into the microphone, calling me a monster, a sociopath, and a terrible husband for stranding her baby girl in another state, without any money or resources. I didn't bother arguing or getting defensive. I didn't call her mother back. Instead, I sent a single, icy text message to my mother-in-law, blocking her immediately afterward. I wrote, "Luna explicitly told me that her new lifestyle choices were non-negotiable. I simply understood and complied. Since she wants to live life like a single woman, she can finance it like one. Do not contact me again." A few hours later, around noon, my phone rang from an unknown local number. I answered it, and it was Chloe. But unlike Luna, Chloe wasn't angry. She was absolutely terrified. See, Chloe works a regular corporate job and has a lot to lose. The moment she realized I was playing hardball, she completely cracked. She started babbling, swearing up and down that she had nothing to do with Luna's text and that she didn't agree with what Luna was doing. She confessed everything to save her own skin, and that's when the real Miami story came out. It turns out Luna hadn't just felt inspired by the Miami Beach vibe. This wasn't some sudden, spontaneous realization. She had been meticulously planning this for months. Chloe admitted that Luna had already been seeing a guy locally in our hometown behind my back. Luna's grand plan was to use the Miami trip as a launchpad. She figured that by sending me an aggressive, non-negotiable ultimatum while she was hundreds of miles away, I would be too intimidated and desperate to lose her to fight back. She expected me to just swallow my pride and accept an open marriage. That way, she could openly bring her side piece into her life without losing the massive house, the luxury lifestyle, and the financial stability that my tech salary provided. But the betrayal went even deeper. The ultimate luxury upgrade to her plan? Luna had actually flown this guy down to Miami on my dime. He was scheduled to arrive the very next morning, and she fully expected him to stay in the high-end luxury resort suite that I paid for, eating meals charged to my joint credit card. My immediate cancellation of the hotel and the cards completely ruined the entire plan before the guy's flight even landed. He ended up canceling his trip the moment Luna told him she got kicked out and had no money. Hearing that, any tiny shred of guilt I had left completely evaporated. I didn't waste another second. I called up a friend who recommended the most ruthless, aggressive divorce attorney in the city. I retained him within the hour. I handed over a mountain of evidence. the original text chain, the hotel receipts showing I funded the trip, and a fully recorded audio file of my conversation with Chloe confessing to the pre-planned infidelity. My lawyer smiled and told me he was going to have a field day with this. Next, following strict legal advice from my attorney, I dealt with the house. I changed the digital keypad codes and locks on all the doors. Here's the kicker. Our suburban home wasn't bought during the marriage. It was a beautiful property that I had fully inherited from my grandfather before I even met Luna. In our jurisdiction, because it was an inheritance and kept strictly in my name, it is classified as non-marital property. She had zero legal right to the structure. Meanwhile, back in Miami, Luna's reality check hit hard. With her cards frozen and her friends refusing to pay for her anymore, she had to crawl back to her parents and beg them to buy her a ticket home. They couldn't afford first class, so they bought her the cheapest, most miserable, multi-stop economy flight available. 2 days later, I was sitting in my living room when a cheap rideshare pulled into the driveway. I watched through the window as Luna got out. She looked completely exhausted, disheveled, her clothes wrinkly, and she was practically shaking with fury. She marched up to the front porch and confidently punched her usual code into the digital lock. Beep. Red light. Invalid code. She tried it again, harder this time. Beep. Red light. She began furiously pounding on the heavy wooden door. I calmly walked over and unlocked it, opening it just wide enough to stand in the frame, completely blocking her entry. Before she could even open her mouth to yell, I reached out and handed her a thick, white envelope containing a stack of freshly filed legal papers. The moment her fingers touched the paperwork, her angry demeanor completely shattered. She burst into hysterical tears. The fierce, independent attitude vanished, replaced by desperate backtracking. She started crying that it was all a giant joke, that her friends had dared her to send that text, and that it was just a test to see if I still cared about her. She swore on her life that nothing happened in Miami and that she loved me. I looked her dead in the eye, completely expressionless. I leaned forward and calmly mentioned her local side piece actual name, the name I had gotten from Chloe. Luna froze. Her face turned completely pale, and the air left her lungs. I looked at her one last time and said, "Your open marriage proposal was non-negotiable. My divorce is too." I pulled the door shut, turned the deadbolt, and walked away. Final update. It's been 3 months since my last post. The divorce was officially finalized yesterday afternoon, and I can finally sit down, breathe a sigh of relief, and share the absolute conclusion to this nightmare with all of you. When Luna realized that crying on my porch wasn't going to work, she decided to get nasty. Her lawyer initially tried to play dirty, fighting for a massive, long-term alimony payout and demanding a significant share of my personal investments and retirement assets. They even tried to argue that she was entitled to a portion of the house's equity. But there was a fatal flaw in her plan, her own arrogance. The sheer mountain of evidence we brought to the table completely derailed her case before it could even reach a courtroom. The text messages detailing her extortion style, non-negotiable ultimatum, combined with the time-stamped hotel records and Chloe's admission, proved a clear pattern of pre-planned, calculated infidelity and financial exploitation. During mediation, my attorney lay out the facts so coldly and clearly that Luna's lawyer literally pulled her into the hallway, told her she was going to lose horribly if this went to a judge, and advised her to settle immediately. To make things sweeter, my lawyer made sure to formally enter the entire text chain, and Chloe signed admission directly into the public court record. See, Luna had already started trying to spin a narrative to our mutual friends, claiming that I was an abusive control freak who stranded her in a dangerous city over a simple misunderstanding. The moment those official court documents became public, her fake narrative disintegrated. The social fallout for her was immediate and brutal. Once the absolute truth came out, that Luna had actively tried to use my hard-earned money to fund a romantic Miami vacation for her secret side piece, and in doing so, almost got her own friends thrown into the street by hotel security. Her entire friend group completely fractured. Chloe and Sarah were so disgusted by the fact that she had used them as a shield and lied to their faces that they cut ties with her instantly. They even apologized to me for unwittingly being part of it. The shame didn't stop with her friends, either. Luna's parents, who had initially called my phone screaming and calling me a monster, finally found out the real story about the other guy. They were deeply humiliated by their daughter's behavior. Realizing she had thrown away a stable, loving marriage for a cheap thrill, they completely cut off her financial safety net. They refused to pay for her legal fees or her living expenses, telling her flat out that she was entirely on her own and needed to finally grow up. Without my income or her parents' backing, Luna's new reality hit her like a freight train. She went from living in a beautiful, fully paid-for suburban home with a husband who bankrolled her hobbies, to renting a tiny, cramped, roach-infested studio apartment on the bad side of town. To survive, she had to take a high-stress, exhausting, full-time retail management job just to scrape by and pay her rent. And as for that other guy she was ruining her life for, the absolute poetry of the situation is that he immediately ghosted her the exact moment he realized she had lost access to my wealth. It turns out he didn't actually want Luna. He just wanted the luxury lifestyle she was offering to steal for him. The second he found out she was broke, single, and facing a massive legal battle, he blocked her number and vanished. On the flip side, my new life has been incredible. I kept the inherited house, protected 100% of my premarital savings, and most importantly, kept my peace of mind. Over the last 3 months, I've poured all the energy I used to spend on her into myself. I've been hitting the gym consistently, locked in a major promotion at my tech firm, and I've even done a bit of traveling. Only this time, I'm only paying for myself, and I actually get to enjoy the trip. A week before we signed the final divorce decree, Luna tried one last-ditch effort. She sent a massive, pathetic, multi-paragraph email to my personal address. The fierce, demanding tone from Miami was entirely gone. She apologized profusely for her arrogance, admitting that her ego had gotten the best of her because a few people in her ear told her she could do better. She begged and pleaded for a second chance, promising she would spend the rest of her life making it up to me. I didn't even bother typing a reply. I didn't give her the satisfaction of closure. I simply forwarded the email to my attorney, who attached it to the final paperwork and sent it over to her counsel for the final signature. I want to sign off this post by thanking this community for helping me hold the line when I was sitting alone in the dark on night 1. If there is one lesson to take away from my story, it's this. Never let anyone negotiate your self-worth, and never provide a luxury lifestyle for someone who treats you like an option. She explicitly told me she wanted to be free, so I respected her wishes and made her completely free. It was the best decision of my life.